let's talk lures. Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to go over kind of the story of how I became a topwater maniac, quite literally. I grew up fishing here and there. Just the typical kid with a worm on his hook and a bobber, Never really caught much of anything as far as size other than, panfish. So last year, I have a camp that's permanently parked at a campground that's about a half hour away from here, and there's 4 ponds and they're full of bass and bluegill, and I was up there fishing with my worm, and some girl was on one of the lower ponds just slamming largemouth. I mean, left and right, just destroying them. And so I just yelled down and I was like, what the heck are you using? And she was like, oh, it's a torpedo. Cool, never heard of it. So of course I went back to my camper and I looked it up and found out that it's a head-in torpedo. So I went to Dick's and I got the head-in baby torpedo. I came home and went across the street. Like I've said in some of my other videos, I live right on the Neoga River. Took this thing across the street, and on my second cast, I caught a smallmouth bass. I, at the time, don't think I've ever caught anything that big. And then on my 6th cast, I caught another one. And then on my 9th cast, or I don't know exactly, but I caught so many smallies in a half hour time on a topwater lure. I had never fished topwater before. I was immediately hooked. Then I started that week after work. Every day I'd go down to the river for about 45 minutes, and I was catching between 9 and 12 smallmouth bass in the river in 40 minutes time every day for a whole week. I was completely addicted. So I became a topwater maniac because of this lure right here. So then towards the end of the year, I got on FishBrain, and this dude was catching huge largemouth with a whopper plopper. That is when I decided I'm gonna try the whopper plopper, and I got this one, and holy cow, this thing catches even more fish than the torpedo. It's unreal. So that then started my whopper plopper addiction. The one thing that I need to recommend is that with these torpedoes, the head and hooks are awful. You need to replace them right away. Cut them right off, put split rings on here, and replace your hooks with something better. Anything is good. Eagle Claw is better than these. So replace the hooks on those immediately. The whopper ploppers are not bad, surprisingly. I mean, you still, if you want a better hook, you can obviously put one on there, but they're really not that bad. They're pretty sticky right out of the box. I was replacing all of them because I was in the habit of doing so with the torpedoes, but this year I've got, this is brand new, and I am not replacing the hooks, at least not right off the bat. I mean, I'm not going to spend the money on it. The one thing that I have to tell you is that if you're going after smallmouth bass, largemouth are different. Smallmouth bass, 97% of the time, they're going to hit the front end of the lure. So that's just the way they are. So one thing I recommend, I don't know if you guys can see this, I tried to make a white background out of paper so you can see this. add a second split ring onto the front hook. What that does is the smallie's going to hit the front of the lure, and that's most likely where he's going to be hooked in the lip. This one will be hooked in the back of the gill. So what this does with the second split ring is it doesn't allow the smallie to jump out of the water. You know, we all know our smallies like to jump and spit hooks. So this, when the smallie jumps out of the water, let me grab one that only has one. Ow! That hurt. When he jumps out of the water and thrashes around, having one split ring on there creates a wall where that hook can't spin anymore. So what that does, it gives the smallmouth bass, using the weight of the lure, leverage to chuck that hook, to chuck the lure out of his mouth. By having a second split ring on there, you don't get that wall. You don't get that, you know, when you're spinning the... Just try it at home real quick, and if you have one of these or anything with one split ring, you spin that thing and you've got a real tough wall when you have one split ring. When you have two, this thing spins all over the place before you hit a wall. So it just makes it, you're gonna land a lot more smallmouth bass with two split rings on the front hook than you would with one. So that's my little bit of advice. I learned that from a TV show early last year called Hook Shots, and I'm just gonna tell you guys the same thing. It has definitely proven that it works. I was fishing last year with a friend, and we were both chucking whopper plopper, and he had one split ring on and I had two, and he had just as many fish hit his lure as I did, but I landed way more fish than he did. He had a lot of smallies jump out of the water and spit the lure when I didn't. I was able to pull him right in with this. He, by the end of the day, was like, okay, I'm putting two split rings on the front hook from now on. Just real quick, the other thing, this video is very long. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, these are my second go-to when Topwater's not working, or it's early season, late season, square bill crankbaits. They are my next favorite thing. These, I actually make my own square bill crankbaits. Well, kind of. I get blanks. They're just clear like this. The whole thing is, and then I airbrush them and install the eyes and clear coat them and everything. I have to put all the hooks and split rings on. Doesn't come with that stuff. So yeah, I make these and I sell these. That's why I have so many. Plus, you know, there are tons of backups. I just realized that I recorded that whole thing with my kid's monitor going. That's awesome. Well, I hope it's not too bad, because I'm not doing it again. So I got some work to do with putting hooks on these torpedoes, and then I'm gonna call it a night. I think maybe watch some fishing videos.